Evet, şimdi bakmadığımız Total War Pharaoh videolarına bakacağız ve yorumlayacağız. Başlasın. Intro gir bakayım. Manca değil.
Previous Total War titles had a weather system in place. We're trying to improve that for Total War Pharaoh by including a dynamic weather change during battle. There are a few different types of weather. Rain.
Oğlum konuşmak istemiyorsanız konuşturmayın adamı. Niye zorla konuşturuyorsunuz ya? Değil mi? Sanki sonra ağzından laf alıyormuşuz gibi böyle. Adamın hiç mutlu değil yani. Neyse mevzu şu. Hava şartları oyuna genelde önceki serilerde girişte etki ederken şimdi oyunun içerisinde savaş anında da değişiklikler olacak. Bunu söylemiştik. Şimdi onları tanıtıyor teker teker işte. Sandstorm, ne bileyim işte şimşekler, yağmur, mağmur. Bunlar hepsi oyunundaki birimleri etkileyecek.
And sweltering weather. Different types will each have a different gameplay effect and they won't only change.
Bu arayüzümüz ha. Çok korkutucu görük. Oha, custom battle arkadaşlar. Campaign'de bu kadar olmayacak. Bu kadar ikon korkutmasını yüzünden. Bu custom battle. Aranızda kendi savaş ayarlıyorsunuz. Ha, burada var. Yağmur, düz işte şeyli, şimşekli, mimşekli, işte sismis.
They also change the terrain. For example, rain or storm will create patches of
çamur yapışıyor,
specific places on the battlefield.
Çamur yapınca ne olur? Koşman düşer.
Have to deal with. So introducing dynamic weather and dynamic terrain change will force players to adapt to the new battle conditions. A good general must adapt their army and their strategy depending on the ever-evolving battlefield.
Fighting in the desert it's really hard. It's hot, it's arid, and that's why the Egyptians wore lighter armors. You will see in the game that units with lighter armors have an advantage over, let's say, a unit with a medium or heavy armor. Units with light armor have less penalties traversing sand, whilst let's say a heavy unit would have a really tough time just going from point A to point B in sand. Another thing that could happen in a desert is a sandstorm could.
Bunlar önceden olması gereken özellikler. Çok basit şeyler yani.
So a sandstorm is a bad place to be generally, but a clever general.
Ya ama Total War hep böyle casual'lıkla simülasyon arasında giden bir seri. O yüzden evet, kimse yemiyor. Salur da aynı eleştiri getiriyor.
Let's say you want to hide your units away. You can flank in the sandstorm while the enemy's vision is lowered.
We can't make Bronze Age battles with Egyptians or Hittites without having chariots in them. The Egyptians tended to prefer.
Bu arada şu adamların üzerindeki tişört var ya, bundan gelecek.
Having chariots in them.
Partnerler kendi aramızda konuşuyoruz. Creative Assembly'den yetkililer var. İlk bize gösteriyorlar işte seriyi. Dedim ki bu tişörtlerden yok mu kardeşim? Olur dedi, ayarlarız dedi. Sonra benim vesilemle bütün partnerlere bu tişörtlerden gidiyor şimdi.
The Egyptians tended to prefer lighter chariots while the Hittites tended
oğlum,
to prefer
Kayserilik her yerde belli ediyor kendini.
Mostly used them as skirmisher units while the Hittites used them both as skirmishers or melee chariots where they charged
farklı savaş arabaları tipleri var.
We have a few different types of chariots, light, medium and heavy chariots.
Onlarda 3 ayrılıyormuş.
There's also two uses for them. They can be used as skirmishers or melee chariots with spears. We've tried to improve chariots by increasing their unit sizes and making them a bit more maneuverable, so that will help the player use them correctly. But at the same time we've increased penalties.
İnşallah güzel bir oynanış ya.
Terrain types. Heavy chariots
böyle vurdu mu uçuruyordur yani. Böyle gidip takılı kalmıyordur içlerinde.
Easy targets for the enemy. Chariots will be extremely powerful, but mismanaging them or bringing wrong chariots to the specific battlefield will have disastrous effects for
yanlış
your
kullanım tamamıyla yok olmalarına sebep
War
oluyor.
Pharaoh allows the player to follow in the footsteps of the greatest rulers that these two empires had, to do as they did and accomplish the awesome things that they did before them. The starting point that we wanted to create the ultimate sandbox, fitting for a game in Egypt, but we wanted to allow the player to play their way, because faction mechanics have this quality where once you pick a faction, some rules are set, some rules are defined, and we wanted to spice that up by making faction mechanics choosable. That allows for a lot more variance in playthroughs.
Alternatif tarif oluşturmak için bayağı bir böyle size geniş seçenekler sunmuşlar. Yani sandbox biliyorsunuz zaten. Skyrim'den sonra cılkı çıktı. Bütün oyunlar sandbox'a döndü. Tabii ondaki şey biraz bizimdekinde farklı ama istediğiniz gibi alternatif tarihi oluşturacaksınız yani öyle gözüküyor.
We wanted to focus not only on Egyptians but on all of the different cultures in the Bronze Age world at the time.
Sadece
Yes,
Mısır'a
the game is
odaklanmadık
called
diyor.
Total War Pharaoh, but the Hittite Empire in Anatolia has a very long history of them rising to power. At some point
Hitit'le Mısır arasında git gel olacak ya öyle gözüküyor. Çok büyük bir Kenanlılar o kadar özenerek duyurmadılar Kenan şeylerini.
rivaling that of Egypt, and it was feasible that Hittites maybe could conquer Egypt at some point if they attacked. And also the land connection between Anatolia and Egypt is the coastline of Canaan, where multiple Canaanite factions exist and they have their own culture. We have two playable Canaanite factions. Each of them can enter either empire. For example, enter the world of Egypt. Rise in power.
Kenanlılar işte ya Hitit'in dünyasına dahil olacak ya da
we want to make mechanics that the player can start their campaign, they can start.
Bu arada haritayı gördünüz zaten. Daha önce paylaştık ama oyun haritası böyle arkadaşlar. Bu kadar. Yeni bir şeyle ek paketle şu taraflar açılır mı bilmiyorum. 3 tane daha ırk gelecek.
Playing with their faction.
Bu arada bu ticaret şeyimiz değil mi? Ticaret ağı, evet. Kart dedi işte şeyler kervanlar.
And when they see how it's going, they can choose what
Yılan. Kurtu Aten. İnanç sistemleriyle alakalı bir şey var. Oynayış tarzı konu. Buff alıyorsun işte tanrılardan buff alıyor herhalde. Choose an ancient legacy of tarikat gibi düşün işte. Different moves and leader of not be change. Ha, seçildikten sonra bir daha değiştirilemiyormuş. Sağda verdi. Buff'lar var işte.
what very epic thing they want to do.
Oğlum çok güzel ya. Khufu the Builder. Piramit, bahçeler, heykeller, obeliskler, tapınaklar.
Total War Pharaoh, the royal decrees are a feature that will be easy to recognize by any Total War player out there. These are the technologies. Royal decrees take a few turns to get unlocked once you selected them, and they provide you with various bonuses and various gameplay options. They might make your units stronger, they might improve your economy, they can make your buildings cheaper
Bunda
or
bir
more
şey yok.
quicker to
Sivil ve askeri şeyler. Tarihçinin not defteri hoş geldin.
construct, and also grant you additional slots for the gods that you want to worship in local deities.
Evet, 2023. Diğer videoya bakacağım. Dev Diaries 2'ye baktık. The Ravager. Bunun videosunu şöyle yapalım da. Bu video. Kenanlılar.
The deepest scars hold the greatest lessons.
Bu arada oyun Türkçe. Videolarda Türkçe yok diye şey yapmayın. Oyun Türkçe dil desteğiyle çıkıyor.
And I teach as violently as I learn. Let these great kingdoms try to forget my lessons. Let them be afraid to speak my name. Irsu comes, royal ducklings. He is a warty old crocodile with 1,000 scars. He brings chaos, anarchy, blood in the water. Waddle into my reach, ducklings. The old crocodile is coming!
Yerini aç. ...19 dakika mı?
Every scar is a
Nasıl
lesson,
gameplay?
and I teach as violently as I learn. It is the only way to be remembered, these scars. You see, they build their legacies. Buildings burn. Ha! I carve mine into the earth. Let these great kingdoms try to forget my lessons. Let them be afraid to speak my name. Irsu comes, royal ducklings. He is a warty old crocodile with 1,000 scars. He brings chaos, anarchy, blood in the water. Waddle into my reach, ducklings. The old crocodile is coming!
Words of wisdom from a terrifying man. We join Irsu on turn 40 outside Kantap, the last stronghold of the Halab people. We're deep into our quest to liberate the Hittites of their worldly possessions, and what a journey we've been on so far.
Ben bunu izlememişim ya.
We started with a humble dream of bringing Central Kingdom to heel, and I suppose we acquired a taste for blood along the way. Now, a ring of military forts protects our territory, which we no longer wish to grow, and ruin lays
Bu arada
beyond
direkt
our borders.
başlangıçtan girmiyor.
Ruin we
Öyle bir
mean
tür
to
değil.
bring to the Egyptians and Hittites in equal measure, because why should they be happy? Whilst Irsu ravages Anatolia, his two generals, Dagon and Hadad, brave the Mediterranean in search of fresh spoils. Egypt thrashes itself into crisis. The Hittites war over a dusty throne, and mysterious raiders arrive in silent waves along the coast. Civilization rests on a
Bak
bed
şey
of
de var.
kindling, and
Büyük
Irsu
ihtimal
is only too eager to
İnsanları
set
denen
it
topluluk
ablaze.
da var ya. Oynanamıyor ama.
Look out, Kantap, we're invading on three fronts. Front 1 puts Habaru raiders in the thick of it whilst reinforcements catch up. Front 2 is a slow advance, we're hoping to draw them out a little here. And Front 3 is our right hook. There are significant reinforcements inbound from a nearby fort, and Irsu's hoping to thrash them silly.
Yukarıda gördüğünüz ikonlar Shogun'da da vardı. Belli yerleri ele geçince buff'lar elde ediyorsun.
Before they can make it into
Direkt
the
böyle
settlement
ama
proper.
multiplayer'ında
Fire
öyle.
arrows to lower their morale and cut off their escape through the trees, whilst the rest of our units box them in and decimate them.
Bilmiyorum salır. Antep mi diyeyim.
Some are making it through our Habaru line, so we'll send Irsu and our Sabun Nagib warriors to hit them off,
Başlangıçtan
whilst our spearmen round the
almadı
trapped
çünkü.
units in.
Belli bir tur geçmiş. Öyle gösteriyor bize.
A few battered units have made it through, but if Kantap was relying on their reinforcements to save them, then they'd best find a new strategy. Fronts 2 and 1 are progressing well, if only serving to keep the bulk
Okçular
of the
özel
defenders
bilgi abi.
occupied. I don't love that the routers are getting away. Let's see about cutting them off with some fire. A lovely patch of grass and trees is the perfect spot to focus our flaming arrows.
Daha etkili olacak büyük ihtimal. Three Kingdoms'taki orman yakmaları gibi.
I think someone's enjoying themselves. Have we,
Antep mi?
do you think we've overdone it with the fire.
Kralın toprağı yeri demek.
No.
Ne?
No.
Antap.
Definitely not.
Vay arkadaş. Lan Antep'teyiz ha.
Front one's almost broken through. We'll flank with our
Tamam, neyse kaçıyor bu, basit, bununla geç. Bitti, evet. Bir şey yok. Bilmeniz bir şey göster.
Build monuments to our greatness.
19 dakika ayıramayız
Speaking
abi.
of back home, Dagon and her dad are setting
Bak
sail.
haritayı göstermiyor çakal. Haritayı
Hopefully they find
kapatmış.
some food. Sacking and razing means we're not in danger of starving anytime soon, and there's still bountiful, fertile lands to sully. However, it doesn't hurt to put some of that hard-won stone to good use and build ourselves a smuggler's market. Whilst we're gleefully ushering in the end of the world, disorder explodes and our underhanded scheming results in a stocked larder. Times of prosperity sees a smaller yield for us, so we've a vested interest in sowing chaos. You'll be pleased to know that all the wealth we've amassed thus far has been honestly earned.
Bu arada Kenanlıları seçsek de arayüz Mısırlılarınki gibi.
Taken from people who honestly earned it. That means not a single trade deal in sight. But why? Well, Irsu really likes killing, and honestly, I do too. Thankfully, in Total War Pharaoh, you're free to experience the collapse of the Bronze Age however you see fit. For me, I wanted to play.
Çok Iron Man, bak Iron Man gelmiş. Oo. Karakter camping mount high. Forward training. Penalty. Ya şimdi ben de şurada mesela şu ayarı kapatacağım, diyecek ki o ben o ayarı açarak oynuyorum. Bu ayarı açacağız, şunu kapatacağız, diyor ki ben o ayarı açarak oynuyorum falan. Ne yapacağız? Default oynarız herhalde. Default'ta ne diyorsa very hard yapar geçeriz. Army upkeep, low. Abi bunun neyine göre mesela nasıl yapacağız bu işi? Upkeep, army upkeep yani giderler, ordu giderlerini mesela low dedin mesela. High desek ne kadar alacak mesela? 50 gold mu alıyor? 100 gold mu alıyor? Bence bu kadar ayara gerek var mı ya? Post battle unit replenishment. Abi bir ton ayar koymuşlar ya.
How I thought Irsu would. To that end, I've turned off the ability to initiate trading because
Kapatırsam niye milletle ticaret yapamayayım ki? Niye böyle bir ayarı kapatayım ki? Yani milletle ticaret yapmayayım ayarını.
why trade when you can take? I've increased character movement because I think
Mesela %50 diyor ama increase %50. Vay arkadaş.
Irsu would push his men to their limits, and I've toyed with settings that get us into big fights quickly. I've also turned off the ability to retreat from battles because
Auto resolve off.
Irsu suffers no coward.
Challenge yaparsın. Hocam ben Forbid Trading kapalı ve ordu bakımı zorda oynuyorum. Nasıl ya? Ha değil mi? Öyle bir yorumlar gelecek. Hocam o sen ticaret mi yapıyorsun ya insanlarla? Ben ticaret kapatılı oynuyorum kardeşim. Değil mi? Böyle adamlar gelecek böyle. Yok Pharaoh çıkmadı dur.
I'm probably going to
Dur
regret that one.
daha çıkmadı.
Tier 5 chieftains, a state and some advanced resource buildings will set our mind at ease whilst Irsu and his generals explore pastures new.
Hitit coğrafyasına giriyor şu an. Çift başka. Bu arada yeni bir makale çıkmış. Alman birimi. Alman bir adam ısrarla Doğu Roma'nın kartal logosunu Selçuklulardan aldığını ısrar ediyormuş.
Hello, who are you?
Makale
Dagon's
bulursam atacağım.
tentatively turning back because that's an attack hat if ever I saw one. Trading outposts aren't technically against my no trade rule, and if you've got a problem with that, take it up with Moloch.
Bir dakika ne?
Turning back because that's an attack hat if ever I saw one. Trading outposts aren't rule, and if you've got a problem with
Şu neymiş ya?
that, take it.
Moloch. Moloch şey değil. Mısır değil. Hangi tarafta ki bu? Bu arada Şam. Kültür Center Şam'mış burası. Şeyin mi? Kenanlıların tanrısı mıymış bu?
Take it up with Moloch. What is this? Some kind of sea person?
Oo gösterdi.
Let's see how they fare against my ambushing slingers.
Sea person. Deniz insancıkları. Rozluk söylüyor.
Whilst Dagon defends our borders, Irsu and her dad take the
Tam oradan oraya zıpla zıpla alıyor. Eyvallah tamam.
fighting. But knees, but nation means more food. But it's not all doom and gloom. Well, I mean it is, but we want it to be. Anyway, more sea peoples means more cracks in the foundations of civilization means more food coming into our market. In other words, the sea peoples are kind of our frenemies right now. Together, we'll bring the world to its knees, but preferably at a distance from each other. And you know what? If the world's ending, let's see about hedging our bets on the old god front. A second deity
Slot.
slot means more boons, another dedicated general, and just a dash.
Moloch, Baal, El, Aşe, Asherah, Yam. Kenanlarınki böyle miymiş? Baal.
Of variety. During our conquesting, we settled 2 new outposts which we'll use as pit stops and fallbacks along our violent way. Yet, in a fun twist of fate, both Tagar himself, Isaac Irsu
Oo, ne
himself,
güzel video yapmışlar.
is eligible to make a grab at Pharaoh or High King. It's a tempting prospect provided we put in the necessary work to amass the needed legitimacy. But we should always ask ourselves,
İşte burada hangi tarafın tahtına oturacağımızı seçiyoruz. Yani Kenanlıların böyle bir dinamiği yok. Arkadaşlar. Mısır ve Hitit tahtı.
WWID.
2 büyük taht.
What would Irsu do? And Irsu would laugh, melt both crowns and forge them into a spear or something equally as sharp. Yeah, they can keep their lofty thrones and their stupid big buildings. We're all about tearing the world down, not building it up.
No throne for me. So sad.
We've just hit level 16, which opens up a new title slot. We've already unlocked 2 of our wanted titles, Overseer of Foreign Tribute and Lord of Ruin, both designed to bolster our devilish raiding ways. We're heading towards Glorious Devastator, but we're still a little way off, so we'll apply Heart of Stone in the meanwhile. After all, reduced unit upkeep's nothing to sniff at. A worthy general knows their reputation is only as good as their actions, and strong actions require the best equipment. In our pillaging thus far, we've discovered a nice variety of ancillaries, from armor to weapons, mounts to shields, and everything in between. Here, we can shape our bodyguards to our will.
Gösterdik
Light
zaten.
armor wearing bowmen, heavy defenders, solid all-rounders, or even chariot chargers. Our bodyguards can fulfill any role we demand of them. We've recently discovered a nice, strong axe which we'll give to our bodyguards. Bows are a coward's weapon, and chariots aren't personal enough for Irsu. We can acquire further ancillaries to apply to our army, affecting things like line of sight, battle loot, aura size, and more. We're still looking to reduce our food upkeep, so we'll replace our sash with the scythe of quality.
Güzel ya,
Items
farklı
aren't
bir
an
şey var.
instant swap like weapons, armor, shields, and mounts, so we'll need to wait a turn until our lovely new scythe arrives. Back home, and Dagon should prepare for more invaders. We'll drop off a few of our more expendable units in a nearby fort and start recruiting some veteran Canaanite swordsmen and light Syrian archers. These are expensive tier 3 units earned through our upgraded native recruitment office and should give any invaders pause for thought.
What I want. Breath of Canaan.
Vahva hoş geldin.
A victory.
Tamam savaşı
Resist.
geç.
Rage. Sigh and advance on Chariot split. Us towards optional and later. An ambition. These helpful options pop up from time to time, guiding us towards optional short-term goals. This one should help me beat back the relentless tide of the sea peoples. They're everywhere, and Haddad's a little trapped. But Dagon's not faring much better, and the latest invaders caught me in a bad mood. We've been forced into the mud, a death sentence for heavy units, but we'll counter it by ordering our men to give ground. This lures the hapless foe forward, allowing us room to flank.
Deniz insanları dediğimiz bu dönemin içine eden grup istilacılar
The
her
Egyptian
yerde
sea
diyor.
people threat has been neutralized by Ramesses.
Ne gösterdi?
The Egyptian sea people threat has
Kamp modu.
Been neutralized by Ramesses, but he's also very rudely taken Payuniman. Hadad's recovering, but his retreat's blocked. We'll need to send Dagon to rescue him. Elsewhere, Irsu's living his best life at the expense of the Hittites.
Bak o tarafları gösterme Hitit tarafına.
Oh no. Hadad was so close to reuniting with Dagon, but the gods may have other plans, and
Neyi yenilecek diyorlar? Defend.
Ramesses is eager to defend his homeland. We've taken the hill and mean to hold it against the attacking Egyptians. Against Ramesses' check and wade into the and took the Egyptians' poster boy with him, a warrior through and through. Let's replace him with this guy. Our invasion of Egypt hasn't gone too well so far, but with Pakat and Dagon together, we can set our sights on more ambitious prey. Wajet looks a formidable settlement, no doubt brimming with treasures. We'll begin our siege shortly. Whilst our Egyptian front flounders, Irsu has been busy raking in the goods. But the deeper we press, the more formidable foes we uncover, and with the
Görüyor musun logoları? Geyik var. Çok şeyle.
discovery of Kinder, we at last face a worthy opponent. Karunta, the psychotic and power-hungry prince of Hattusa, would have been great king if not
Hitit arkadaşlar. Çok
for his
güzel
cousin, a
içerikler
warlord
üreteceğiz
with a
ya.
grudge to bear and deep
Direkt Hitit'le başlayalım.
pockets. Irsu couldn't ask for a greater match. This bull just grew horns. Before we commit to a full-scale war with Grintha, we'll hike back to Samua and finish them off. The last thing we need is a loose end pulling us away from a good fight. Dagon and Pagat prepare for their attack, but more sea peoples darken our horizon. A new general to protect our land should keep Irsu in the field, and, with Samua turned to but the sea peoples are relentless, and so are we.
Bayağı güçlü geliyor diyoruz. Deniz.
Deeper into collapse has been. These sea peoples are rapid enemy, distracted to notice our invasion force. Of course, without the ability to retreat, by the sword, die by the sword. Well, should be able to keep the resources rolling in. But Irsu's probably foaming at the mouth with the injustice of being denied his prize. So let's.
The deepest scars hold the greatest lessons. Mine taught me to take until you can't. Fill your pockets with coin and blood. If you cannot eat or spend it, burn it. Give it to the warty old crocodiles with the scars and watch them
İnşallah böyledir ya. Eğleniriz yani şeyle.
Do it again and again and again. So long as they build, we destroy. So long as they breathe, we hunt.
Keşke öyle bir şey olsa Troy ama birleşmeyecektik.
Take everything and die with a lot of scars.
Evet. Vay bunu görmüştüm. Arkadaşlar madem burada gösteriler söyleyeyim. Bu gördüğünüz yere dikilmiş bir banner değil mi? Three Kingdoms'a ne oluyordu? Ölen askerlerin elinden sancaklar yere düşüyordu değil mi? Oyunda böyle bannerlar var. Güzel olacak. Bu logolar falan hep değişik değişik. Bu Hitit şey zaten biliyorsunuz. Güneş mi? Anadolu bilmem nesi mi neydi? Evet. Ben göstermediler diye düşünüyorum. Bu neymiş? 11 dakika bu da. Abi az önce Irsu gameplay. Ha bir de şimdi Kenanlıların oyununa bakacağız.
Canaan, a land ravaged by wars, and they pay little while leaders raider in this great collapse. through either subterfuge or begin. So some colors may appear a little
Gördükleriniz değişebilir diyor.
the way, more different from one another. They do, however, they'll both stab you. Let's start off. They'll different from one another. They do, however, share one common thread. They'll both stab you. Let's start off with Irsu, as he wouldn't have it any other way. Starting out in Ret Jenu, he has a very simple, yet very respectable approach to ruling. He doesn't care to. He simply sees what he wants, and he will kill to get it. Resources, money.
Abi Irsu tam bir yamyam. Tam bir savaşçı, böyle var ya, şey yani. Her yol mübah modunda bir karakter. Eti güneş aynen.
Or the simple premise of violence. If you have something he wants, he will not ask. He will simply take.
İstediğini alıyor diyor.
In dark
Sormadan.
apocalyptic times such as these, he's heavyweight the oncoming day, enamored by Egyptian
Evet.
high society, and already in decent standing with Meneptah, he intends to find his way into the courts and spread his control and influence throughout it, offering gifts with one hand whilst taking with many more. Bey's approach to power is much stealthier than Irsu's, in that he would rather manipulate in the shadows than spill blood in the light. Where Irsu seeks chaos, Bey seeks to stem anarchy's tide through charming politesse and political scheming. He'll rise to power either with a puppet pharaoh or even breaking beyond Egyptian norms and taking the crown himself. Throughout all this though, his visage remains the same. A humble diplomat from Canaan, a learned man who just wants to do good. Just don't delve deeper, lest you want a dagger in your back. Whether they're seeking the pharaoh's or the great king's crown, the leaders of Canaan can choose their path, or simply elect to take their own. It's not only the motives that make Irsu and Bey drastically different from one another, but also how they play as leaders, and how you'll build their empires from the ground up. Bey isn't the kind of man to stand boisterously and act strong and powerful. Instead, he's much more cerebral. His approach to power is different from most of the other factions in Total War Pharaoh. While like other leaders, he does intend to build himself up in power, he doesn't take the usual bronze weapon adorned thrones. He's weak when faced head-on, so would rather work in the shadows. Utilizing influence, diplomatic relations, and subterfuge, Bey utilizes the vast amount of resources he can gain from his buildings to make friends with diplomatic gifts, before he eventually stops giving and starts taking massively. His closeness to Egypt puts him in a unique position as a Canaanite. He actually begins worshipping the Egyptian deity Thoth, as opposed to any of the Canaanite gods. He also gains more legitimacy to the throne whenever he's holding a position within the court.
Abi Bey biraz şey ya. Tam Irsu gibi değil, Kenan yancısı değil. Az önce anlattı ya. Puppet Pharaoh muhabbeti.
Courts, as well as legitimacy when plotting. He can even take it from the Egyptian factions he targets, making him a formidable political opponent.
Öbürü herkese savaş yapabilirken bu biraz daha Mısır yancısı gibi.
And resource production. The lighter side of Bey's facade can be seen in the singing competition and the chief scribe's headquarters, which increase happiness, influence, legitimacy to the throne, and diplomatic relations across the lands. Meanwhile, Bey's more pragmatic side can be found in the regional fair. Finally, there's the smuggler. Vast amount of the collapses, crisis he's done survive. Irsu, meanwhile, sees power very differently. Pulled the whole thing down whilst he wants. Sometimes you have to extort everything out of those you impose your. The forced labor camps usually improve production rates and workforce growth. Oh, his quarters bolster influence, happiness, production, and even legitimacy, if he ever felt the need to seek the heart, is Irsu's work. Increasing recruitment slots and ranks in a region, this building.
O hızlıca ordu fullleyecek. Level'da yüksek çıkıyor. 2 çıkıyor. Battle loot %10 trading income.
Also increases loot
Mobilize ve hızlı bir şekilde güçlerini
While
toparlayabilen
Bey offers himself as the hand that'll save these lands, Irsu is the boot, crushing those lands down and taking what he wants. What's yours is his. Though Canaan might not be as big as Egypt, it is still home to mighty warriors. We previously covered on how recruiting units in Total War Pharaoh worked in our Egyptian deep dive, stating that there are forces that are unique to your leader and some that are unique to the land. Canaanite forces are stuck between two different types of militaristic beast, and therefore need to be able to adapt to both the speed of the Egyptians and the heavy armor of the Hittites. Canaan's forces utilize medium armor, sacrificing a modicum of the speed the Egyptians utilize, whilst also keeping a balance of speed.
Ya Kenan orduları da işte Mısır'la Hitit arasındaki gitgellerde. Yani işte ne bileyim iyi savaşırken ne bileyim işte ağır zırhlılarla. Mesela Mısır'da öyle değil işte. Mısır'da çölde savaşırken hafif zırhlı olmak daha etkiliyken bunlar böyle arada yani. Yine birim çeşitliliği
And protection against Hattie's heavily armored juggernauts. Canaanite units also commonly come with the raider attribute, meaning whilst they're fighting in the streets,
yağmala ve yerle bir et bir şeyleri varmış.
they may start setting fire.
Yaptığı zaman target when toggle on unit may. Tamam, çok güzel bak. Bunu mesela kapatıp açabiliyoruz. Normalde Three Kingdoms'ta bazı yağmacı süvariler var. Bunlar geçerken rastgele her tarafa yakıp yıkıyordu. Yani ateşe veriyordu. Şimdi bunu kapatıp açabiliyorsun. Ya çok basit bir şey abi. Niye koymamışsın ki Three Kingdoms'a? Ben mesela girdim, şehirdeki binanın yıkılmasını istemiyorum. Ama o süvariler var diye yıkılıyordu o bina mesela işte.
In Bay's starting location in Fenku, we find the native Fenku and Yamai of the armor spectrum. Preparing them for war, medium and heavy armored units bring decent defense, capable at holding out against chariot charges from Egyptian forces. Meanwhile, Irsu starts near local forces. Viewers of the Egyptian deep dive may recognize Retgenu's, utilizing them for yet a Sinai and Retgenu local forces pick up the slack where Irsu's a slack for our deep dive into the Hittites. We don't want to take our eyes off
çok güzel şunlar ya.
or Bay for that matter. Taking your eyes off of Bay, in fact, could well be the last mistake you'll ever make. His forces are as treacherous on the battlefield as he is in the courts. Specializing in ambush tactics, nearly all of Bay's unique forces have the ambusher trait,
Bay'in birlikleri
meaning
pusu
they're
atmak için
difficult to
idealmiş.
spot in even the most open of terrain. They're also capable at disabling a majority of an army's defensive and offensive capable precision. And on the field are for you, heaviest armor, letting them shake off pathetic stones from slings and absolutely chariots that can decimate missile forces with ease. He may harbor some lighter armored the big stances, and some of his which can be utilized by certain units' stances, and some of his forces even have the heedless charger trait. But with their heavy armor, in many cases they can afford to be this bloodthirsty. To them, this isn't a structured war with honor. This is a bloody battle, and they're here for a fight. So these are the Canaanite leaders you'll be taking command of in Total War Pharaoh. From the brutish might of Irsu to the cunning stratagems of Bay, will you be the hand that pulls the strings of these civilizations from the age of collapse to the age of Canaan? Or will you be the herald of the apocalypse, structure rise, empire of Am?
Bırak koy. Evet güzel. Başka var mı? Bir tane daha var herhalde Pharaoh'la alakalı. Bu da 4 dakikaymış. 1 saat ayırdık şeye. Bu neymiş? Ev dairesi. Ne blok gibi bir şey.
For Total War Pharaoh, we are adding new tech with which you can set everything on fire. And by everything I mean grass, tall grass, forests,
Eyvallah, yakıyoruz,
building
yıkıyoruz.
burn,
Eyvallah, tamam.
burned up tall grass, flush them out. Careful where it's ablaze.
Previous Total War titles had unit formations. We're trying to upgrade those to not only formation for the unit, but to give units a specific order. There are three basic types of units.
Güzel. Şimdi neymiş? Bunlar önemli.
Hold ground.
Olduğun yeri koru.
And give ground formation. An advance will make your unit.
Tamam, ilerle.
Advance forward. And when engaged.
Görüyor musunuz bu arada Banner'la karakteri?
To the enemy, they will try to push them back. A hold will make the unit hold their current position and their current formation, ready to be charged. And a give ground will make the unit go backwards while facing forward, maybe protecting from ranged fire or disengaging from the enemy. There are also upgrades to those three basic unit stances. For example, we have the Reckless Advance, which will increase the melee attack of a unit.
Defans düşüyor ama melee atağı artıyor.
While also decreasing melee defense of a unit while the unit is advancing. And there is the Spear Wall, which will make a
kendi özel şeyleri var.
Get into formation, braced, and ready to be charged. Unit formations will provide for greater battle depth, as players will be able to execute intricate battle tactics. Unit stance, more elite or trained units will have a greater variety.
Easily dented, it was easily chipped, could be easily destroyed. So what we've implemented is an armor degradation system. We have weapons that can damage armor way faster than other weapon types, let's say. A club can destroy an armored unit's armor and make it useless against a swordsman. An axe can damage shields, it can splinter them. It can also damage armored units way easier because it has that.
Mesela bunların önceki serilerde olup olmadığını tam bilmiyoruz yani. Matematiksel ama burada diyor ki işte şey diyor, topuz diyor, balyoz neyse diyor işte zırhı parçalayabilir diyor. Ne bileyim balta işte kalkanlıyı dövebilir diyor. Yani taş kağıt makasın biraz daha çetrefillisi Three Kingdoms'ta vardı. Burada biraz daha böyle açığa çıkıyor yani. Yani sallıyorum sadece topuzla kılıcı bir tutmamış yani. Club kullanan adamla kılıç kullanan adam aynı şeyi yapmıyor yani.
Really good against chariots.
Biraz daha mikro var.
Running at you with a chariot, you don't want a sword to poke at him, you want a spear to take out the driver.
Sancak kolayı çok iyi olmuş.
Like in previous historical Total Wars, generals will have bodyguards, as you don't want to send your hero alone in combat. The new thing in Pharaoh is that will allow the player to customize their bodyguard as they wish.
Şey gibi işte şu Troy'da tarih modunu oynadık ya hani. Resus'la. Onun yanına çeşitli işte birlikler alabiliyorduk. Bu da onun gibi. Aynı bir fark yok. Onları daha çeşitlendirebiliyorsunuz. Troy'a nazaran daha da artmış.
You can also equip your bodyguard with a chariot, so he can move faster on the battlefield. You can change the need or as your preference for a bodyguard is.
Evet güzel. Pharaoh'un son çıkan videolarını böyle inceledik. Normalde araya açmıştık. Hep yapardık. Çıkar çıkmaz. Topluca bir incelemiş olduk. Güzel yani. Son dakikada da Apollyon'a sağ olsun abone oluyor. Ona da teşekkür ediyoruz. Merakla bekliyorum. Oynayacağız yani. Tarih bizim oyun alanımız. Seviyoruz tarihi. Tarihte yaşıyoruz. O yüzden şu an cezbediyor ama işte bunlar keşke hep en başında olsaydı da şu an biz başka şeyler konuşuyor olsaydık. Evet diyeceklerim bu kadar. Sonraki bir videoda görüşecek kadar kendinize iyi bakın.